authorities dare send me to prison, they will be committing the greatest legal barbarity in this country, because they'll be making me the first political prisoner of the 21st century in this country. It's obvious that we all pay for our decisions, and that is why I'm at peace. I have the peace of someone who is innocent.
He keeps insisting he's innocent, but now Lula da Silva is one step closer to jail. A court in Brazil has rejected the former president's latest appeal against corruption charges. Lula is banned from running in the next election in October, but that hasn't stopped him from campaigning across the country. But he no doubt has his enemies. 2 buses carrying his supporters came under fire by unidentified attackers. But he still remains one of the country's most popular politicians, and most polls show him as the people's preference to lead Brazil. But how realistic is a presidential bid when he faces the prospect of 12 years behind bars? Well, let's ask one of Lula da Silva's lawyers, Valesca Martins. She joins us from Sao Paulo. Valesca, good to have you on the Newsmakers once more. Did you expect the appeals court
Thank you, always a pleasure.
to reject the application?
You mean the Supreme Court, the Habeas Corpus? We absolutely not, because the Constitution is clear that no one shall be found guilty until a final, unappealable decision. No one can go to prison unless there's a final, unappealable decision. And we are absolutely certain that the Constitution will be upheld.
So that's going to happen on April the 4th. If it doesn't happen on April the 4th and they say, listen, it's done, it's over, you have no more options, what are you going to do?
No, first of all, we are absolutely certain that the Constitution will be upheld. In order for someone to be thrown in jail after an appellate court, the Constitution has to be changed. And according to what we are seeing now, it hasn't. Therefore, we are absolutely certain that he will be able to appeal in freedom, and therefore, if he wants to, if he desires, he may register his candidacy when the appropriate time comes. We are not discussing at this point whether he's eligible for the elections or not, but whether he's committed a crime.
Yeah, when the appeals court unanimously rejected the final procedural objections, do you believe that they were misguided or that they were compromised, as you had suggested earlier with regards to Judge Morrow? Do you believe they just got it wrong or that they're compromised?
First of all, we believe that the car wash operation has put up one of the greatest lawfare against one citizen that we can find in history. He's been politically persecuted. Now, let's remember, so that everybody understands what he was convicted of. He was convicted of undetermined acts. They say there's no quid pro quo. They cannot infer whether he was the owner, whether he had the property, the possession, but that he might have been attributed an apartment that even Judge Morrow agrees did not come from stolen money from Petrobras. So what is he convicted of? And this is, goes to the core of the accusation. And we are absolutely certain that once an impartial court of law analyzes the evidences of innocence and the lack of evidence made by the prosecution, he will be acquitted. And he's made it absolutely certain to us that he'll fight to the end, nationally and internationally, to clear his name and to make sure that everybody understands that while in presidency or after his presidency, he never did anything illegal.
Yeah, and you've mentioned this as lawfare. But what I want to ask is, who do you believe is behind the lawfare? Who's pulling the strings? Who's trying to hold him back? Undoubtedly, he's a popular man. A lot of Brazilians want him to be president. Who is doing this, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's interesting that we came across a video from July of 2017 from Kenneth Blanco, who is a prosecutor with the DOJ, where he explains that the car wash operation was only possible because they had an informal cooperation, what they call based on trust, and then he goes on to say a confianza, whereby they could exchange evidence without going through legal mechanisms. Now, we have ask that the courts, Moro, the appellate court, prosecutors explain what this of the mechanisms of the legal mechanisms corporation is, how they were able to actually influence Lula's decision, because he goes even to say that they were able to influence the and help with construction of the case against Lula. So I think the society, Brazilian citizens, need an answer. What is the DOJ helping, and how is the DOJ helping with the car wash operation? This is the question that remains unanswered, and I think the world needs to know.
I know you have confidence in your abilities to defend him, and I know you have confidence in a positive ruling come April the 4th, but realistically, is he prepared, and are you prepared for him to serve 12 years in jail?
No, absolutely not. We're gonna still fight, always fight, for the Constitution to be upheld, for the laws to be upheld, and make sure that no innocent man is convicted of wrongdoing and sent to jail because of a political persecution.
The last time we spoke, you said you were going to the UN Human Rights Committee in Geneva. Have you been speaking with them already, and what's been said and done?
We have filed a new petition on March 16th, and we are at this point waiting for the admissibility stage, which will then put Brazil actually as a defendant before the Human Rights Committee. And we're absolutely certain that the merits of those gross violations will be understood, will be judged in our favor, and that Brazil will be held liable and responsible for repairing and upholding or sustaining any further violations against Lula da Silva's human rights.
Do you still trust your legal system?
I think we have at this point. I think it's very important that we go over and reanalyze our inquisitorial judicial system, reanalyze the role of the judge in charge of the investigation, then, you know, being the judge, solely being the judge, judging the merits of the case. Look, we have a prison system that incarcerates massively. We have our appeals reach the Superior Court, the Supreme Court. I think, if I'm not mistaken, from 20 to 25% of the appeals are upheld, are acknowledged. Therefore, we're talking about a lot of innocent people that are thrown in jail. We need to reanalyze, rediscuss, and try to find out where we are going wrong.
Valeska Martins, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining us on the Newsmakers.